Chapter 22. A Quick Return. There were dreams that night, of course. Who could spend a day or even half a day at the zoo and not dream? But I can't stop to tell you about them. The children didn't even stop to tell each other. For at breakfast there was great news. They were to go again, that very day. And what was more, Mother was going too. The only point was, were they too tired? Tired. If Kitty had been asked the question the night before, she would have said yes. So perhaps would Joan. But this morning they caught Phil's eye, and knew they dare not, however they felt. By Uncle's plate lay a long, buff-coloured envelope. It was marked, "On His Majesty's Service," and looked most awfully important. The girls would have given anything to know what was in it. But Phil could only think how great it was of Uncle to read and put it down just as if it were an ordinary letter. He whispered to Kit that very likely it was from the King himself. All Uncle said was, "Well, that settles it," and as he went on immediately afterwards to make arrangements with Mother, Kitty got it into her small head that their hurried third visit to the zoo was a direct result of orders from the highest quarter. What had really happened was that Uncle had received an invitation from a former colonel of his for a few days' fishing, and he could not very well refuse. Of course the colonel ought not to have sent his letter in an official envelope, but colonels do that sort of thing sometimes. And after the few days' fishing it appeared that Uncle would be very busy, so today was his only free one for some time, and he thought Mother badly needed a change, so she would simply have to come. Phil ran up the road to tell the Graysons, and while he was gone Mother got ready and Uncle went to the telephone. An hour later. Joan and Kitty could scarcely believe their ears, still less their eyes. They were under the fir tree, dressed and waiting. Suddenly there came a whirring sound in the road, then a grinding of the brakes hastily applied, and a voice called out, "Open the gate, please, missy, will you?" Then up the drive, their drive, came a taxi, and hardly had it reached the door when another came, and the swing gate had to be opened a second time. 2 taxis, and for them. The girls ran excitedly to the first, opened the door and flopped down happily on the cushions, but they had reckoned without Phil. He had rushed back from the Graysons and then disappeared. The girls had remarked his absence, but thought it connected with the vexing but important matter of a clean collar. But he had gone into the study with Uncle. Now he emerged on the top doorstep with a half sheet of notepaper in his hand and looking very important. "Get out," he called with a withering glance at his 2 hasty sisters. Joan was for sitting tight, but Kitty rose uncertainly. "Get out," came the voice again. "I'm the entertaining officer. Uncle says so, and if you disobey orders you'll be placed under arrest, and see how you like that." Both girls were out and standing at attention in an instant. It was no good resisting Phil in this mood, but they wished the taxi drivers hadn't laughed. "Troops will entertain in the following order," read Phil, referring to the paper. "First carriage. Officer in charge, Uncle. Other occupants," he stumbled rather over this word, "Mother, Alice Grayson and Kitty Howard." "Second carriage. Officer in charge, Mr. Phil Howard." He blushed rather at this. "Other occupants, Joan Howard, Wally Grayson and Harold Grayson." The Graysons were coming up the path by now, and must have heard the orders, but Phil pretended he thought they hadn't, and read the half sheet of notepaper again. He seemed to like reading it. "Silly boy," muttered Joan. "You ordered Kitty out, and now you say she's to go in the first carriage." "Yes, but I didn't say when. There's some more of it you haven't heard yet, so don't speak till you're spoken to." He went on reading. "Ladies will enter first and choose their places." "That only means Mum." He stopped to explain. "Officers in charge will enter last, and see the doors closed, and no one is to lean out over the side or lark about, that's all. Upstairs Mother was saying to Uncle, "Do you really think we ought to let those four come along by themselves? Hadn't you or I better—" "No," said Uncle positively. "Philly's in charge. You'll break his heart if you interfere." So that was how they reached the zoo, for their third visit, and everybody agreed that taxis were ever so much better fun than trains and omnibuses, though not so good as elephants and camels. Only Wally and Harold and Joan did sometimes wish Phil had been somewhere else. He was so awfully strict. Perhaps the driver wished so too, for every now and again Phil would take up the speaking tube to ask some such question as, was he all right? Did he know the way? Did the driver in front know the way? And last of all, very solemnly, as they bowled along the wide road through Regent's Park, which did he like best, batter pudding or buttercups?